Do you own farmland or farm inside of an LLC, a corporation, limited liability partnership, or an irrevocable trust? Then you better have your corporate farm report filed or you might be in violation. Watch this video to learn more. Hi, I'm Jason Wagner, the farm lawyer. I work with family farmers every single day to help them pass on the farm to the next generation. At my law firm, Wagner Ayler, we've been doing it for over 50 years. Well, it's springtime here in Minnesota, which means it's time to file your taxes, but it's also time to file your corporate farm report. Pretty exciting stuff, right? Well, if you don't know about this and you own land or you farm inside of an LLC or a corporation, limited liability partnership, or a trust, you probably are in violation and you need to know about it. So what is the corporate farm report? Well, it's a report that is due April 15th of every year for all of those entities that I listed. If you've got, let's say, a farm LLC, you've got to fill out the corporate farm report to show the name of the LLC, who the members of the LLC are, and report all the acres that you rent or own inside of that LLC. In order to meet the requirements of Minnesota's corporate farm law, the majority of the owners inside of the LLC must be related to each other, and at least one of them must reside on the farm or actively participate in the farm. What we're really getting at is Minnesota doesn't want a group of investors to form an LLC or a corporation to buy farmland. Minnesota wants that farmland to be owned by families, and they want to keep it in family farming. Great goal. But it does mean that if you are using a farm LLC as part of your family farm operation, you have to make sure that you're filing this. And it's critically important because it is tied to our family farmland deduction. This is the deduction where you can get up to $2 million of farmland deducted from the estate. One of the requirements is that the decedent has to have owned the land for at least 3 years prior to death, and if it's in an LLC or a trust or any of those other entities, it has to be in compliance with Minnesota's corporate farm law. If you haven't filed a report, you're not in compliance. If you filed a report but you don't meet the requirements, you're not in compliance. When you file that report, you will get a certificate of compliance from the Minnesota Department of Ag. And every year after that, you need to file a report showing the current owners, if any ownership has changed, and if you've acquired any other land or renting any other land. We need to maintain compliance. If you've formed a farm LLC and your attorney didn't talk to you about the corporate farm report, they're missing something. And this is critically important. I actually just had this situation happen recently. We had 2 LLCs formed, one for land, one for operating. I didn't have concerns with that. They had a good operating agreement, so no concerns there. I said, have you filed a corporate farm report? They said, never heard of it. Whoa, that's big news, okay? $2 million of farmland that we may not be able to deduct has now gone out the window. You know, that's potentially at a minimum $260,000 of estate tax savings that we just missed the boat on because we don't have that corporate farm report filed and they've never even heard of it. Get it filed. We get into compliance. We've now put that back on the table. We can be eligible for a family farmland deduction. I can't stress enough. You need to work with an attorney that understands farming and all of the ins and outs of both federal and Minnesota law when it comes to protecting your farm. The good news is once you've got this thing filed and you've met the requirements, it's a simple filing. I mean, it's a few pages, send it back, get it done, good to go. We handle this for dozens of clients in our own firm where we just file it every year for them. You know, we need to confirm the information, then we keep them in compliance. But if you don't know about it, you got to go to the Minnesota Department of Ag website, learn about Minnesota's corporate farm law. If you need help filing the report, let us know. We're happy to help. If you're looking at the requirements and you find out you actually don't meet the requirements, well, it's time to restructure. We're happy to help with that. There's other ways we can get to some of the same goals that you have of owning it in an entity without having to go through Minnesota's corporate farm law. Big thing is stay compliant, get compliant, or find another path. If you like what you've heard, check out farmlawyer.com, subscribe to me on YouTube, and follow me on Facebook.